So today I want to talk to you guys about the fake news. First of all, where did the word fake news come from? Because it's been my experience of everybody saying the same terminology. They got it somewhere, right? And who has the best reasoning to want to turn people against news? If there was somebody or a group of people who wanted to convince Americans that the traditional trusted sources that we once believed in they are now the enemy of the people. Who would benefit from that? Because the media has been instrumental, more so than politics, for change. It has been highlighting atrocities in communities, in race, in war, and there have been massive legislative change for the better. We have to believe our eyes, read it, and then discern for yourself, right? In my opinion, trust your own instincts. I think you're smarter than a lot of people give us credit for. And I think that we should be able to read a news article or look at information and ask questions about it. And then say, if all of these people are saying that, and then who are the people who are saying it? And do the people who are saying it have an agenda? Question again becomes who wins if we turn off the news, if we turn off information, right? And the thing about it is that, yes, it can be biased on both sides. Yes, there can be lies, but if it's in the light of day, if it's mainstream, if it's being monitored by the FCC, it's more likely that you will hear people fighting against a certain story and they'll come with their facts and you have more of an opportunity to see both sides and decide for yourself, right? And isn't that better than getting things on social media where it's not regulated, where anybody could be spouting anything? And they've proven time and time again that there are bad actors out there doing deep fakes and AI. So you can't source that information that you're getting. And there's foreign actors out there that are trying to influence our election, one side or the other. So really, it's dangerous to just pick one, in my opinion, one place. I'm going to get my news or my information from social media and getting it in sound bites. The last thing that I want to share when you talk about what I've noticed talking to, and I have had the privilege, honestly, I feel like it's a privilege to have hours and hours of conversation with people who either don't vote, but if they did vote, they would support Trump. They don't really, because they don't listen to the media, they don't listen to his rallies, they don't really know anything, right? And they say that. They're like, both sides are bad, but if I had to choose, I'd choose Trump, right? This is the people that I'm talking to. These are the people who are, oh, they're both bad, right? The people who are so angry at Republicans and then the Republicans who just hate Democrats, right? Because they don't understand. Democrats are so mad at Republicans and their family members and their friends because they say, how can they know all this stuff that we know? Most Democrats are upset with you as a Republican. They're watching everything. They're watching all of Trump's speeches. They're watching Congress. They're seeing legislation that's being passed. They know how people are voting. They're watching Fox News. They're watching MSNBC. They're listening to everybody speak. They've either read the 900 pages or the condensed version, but and so their anger and frustration with their friends and family who are supporting Trump is that how do they know this stuff or even a percentage of the stuff and still vote for him? And their opinion of those people is so vile because they think that they know what they know and are choosing to vote for Trump. What I try to explain to Democrats is that they don't know because, like so many of us, they're exhausted. They're exhausted from the media. They want to live their life. They want to be happy. They just want to tune it all out. I need to be happy for my kids. I've got other things going on in my life. I cannot bring that negativity in because it can be overwhelming. And it's a lot of work. And it's just easier to just be like, they're both bad. But given a choice, I have time to vote, I'll go vote for Trump. So what I try to explain to them is they don't listen to Trump's rallies. They don't listen. They don't watch anything. And whatever little bit of information that they're getting, they get on social media from their ecosystem, from their friends and their families, talking about, because when I talk to Republicans, they are honest and self-proclaimed ignorant about any kind of anything on the news. They do know about all these things they talk about are all the same talking points, right? They're all about Hillary Clinton and emails. They even bring up Bill Clinton. If they get too boxed in, they'll bring up Bill Clinton in the White House and Monica Lewinsky. And they know about Hunter Biden. They talk about the Biden crime family. These are talking points, right? But they don't know a lot about it. And when you ask them about policy issues, they're worried about the border. They call Kamala Harris the border. So they're hearing something. Even though they're not watching the news, if anybody has a difference of opinion, please share it, because this is the information that I'm getting. And this is an open dialogue for us to all talk openly. But it seems to me that they are getting some information they've told me they're getting on social media. And their silo that they're in is the people that they talk to or they hang out with. This is what they're being, the information that's flowing around. Because when you ask them, like I had a conversation with my aunt and I said, okay, she said, I'm really worried about immigration. And I asked her, how do you feel about the border bill that James Langford, a conservative congressman from Oklahoma, put together and had bipartisan support and was going to get passed? But uh, Donald Trump called up people and said, don't pass it. I want to run on the border and not fix it. And there was no pushback because the Republicans agreed. James Langford, a Republican, a Trump supporter, to this day, a Trump supporter, said this. Multiple Republicans came out and said this happened. Even Trump admitted it happened. Nobody disagreed. That's real news. That's real information. So it's not you're listening to MSNBC and they're talking about it, which they did, but on every conservative station, they talked about it. And it's an ongoing conversation. So that's information, that's legitimate information, that's important. And so there's so many things at the end of the day that we have, people say this, people say that. We can only use certain metrics to identify if people are lying, right? These are the same metrics you use in your day-to-day life. These are the same metrics that you use with your spouse, with your children, with your friends, with your family, with your neighbors, right? Actions speak louder than words, right? Somebody tells you they love you. Somebody tells you they're there for you, but yet whenever you need them, they're not there. Or they say they love you, but they're always putting you down. Or they say they support you, but every time you tell them your dreams or what you want to do, they tell you can't do that, right? Actions speak louder than words. So the simplest way to understand if what people are telling you is true is by their actions. And that's pretty simple to find out. And some things are just black and white. How people vote, legislation that they work on. And we have to stop making excuses for our elected officials just because we're on a blue team or a red team. If an elected official tells you they didn't vote for something because they didn't have time to read a bill, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If that shit comes out of your mouth and you're an elected representative and you say you didn't have time to read something, you should be fired. That is literally your job, to pass legislation. And you have people in your office to read the bill to you. And you have AI and technology and all these things that can strip out what you need. There's no excuse. You have no other job to do but to pass legislation that helps your constituents. So I think understanding how a bill becomes a law, and maybe going back to Schoolhouse Rock, right? Just understanding how things work. I think this is the most important thing that we can do, is just understand how our country works. And it doesn't take that much to Google, tell me how a bill becomes a law, or you can get a children's book on these things. Like literally, children's books will tell you, admitting that we don't know everything. We have a choice to have faith in people or not have faith in people. We have a choice to say that, like, most people are trying to do the right thing and tell us the truth. And yes, there's some bad actors, but I'm smart enough to like sift through the bullshit. We get the government that we deserve. We have to understand what the government is there for. And at the end of the day, its job is to help the people, not tax them in a crazy way, but to build roads and bridges and to step in when people do things bad. It's to make sure we have clean air, clean water, that big corporations aren't destroying our country, taking advantage of their workers. It's an overseer. And if people do bad things, and if you know our history, people do bad things, right? People Businesses have done bad things. That's why we have labor laws and unions and things like that. But for everything that people are against, you got to ask why. If I'm against labor unions, for example, then who am I for? Who am I for if I'm against that? If I'm not for the worker, then who am I for? Because if you're against something, you have to be for something. So the question becomes, that means that I'm for big corporations. I want big corporations to benefit before I want the workers to benefit. If that's the side you fall on, then that's the side you fall on. But understanding why is important. So it's okay to challenge your values every now and then. Really, if your values, the core of who we are is like our essence, right? It is like literally our being. It is the most important thing of our soul. So challenging it to understand and to see, is that really who we are? Do we understand? If we're so passionate about an issue, then challenge it, challenge yourself. And if you're truly passionate about it, you should have more conviction if you challenge. Like for me, if I believe in something deeply and I talk to somebody and they're on the polar opposite side of that, then I go, let me look into that. Why does that person believe that way? I ask questions and then I look into it and give me more conviction of my position, but maybe with a little empathy to their side, which is even better. If you have a stronger conviction, but some understanding or empathy, that's the best situation you could be in. Or maybe I didn't really know all I needed to know about that. I just believed it because I was told to believe it and it was how I was raised or whatever. And being challenged gave me a different perspective and maybe my view changed a little bit. And that's a good thing. Change is good. The more we can see things in common or have empathy or sympathy for people and their values and views, the better, right? And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow, which is some of these polarizing opinions that people have and how we just see them so differently. And really, that there's so much commonality that we can agree on. And questioning some of these things, for example, tomorrow we're going to talk about abortion because we're on such different sides of that issue. But I guess the question becomes, how did we get here? And what is the real issue? Seeing women to give birth, or is it really about saving lives? And we're going to ask some questions about that because I think that's something that we need to really dive into and figure out who wins in the long run. If everybody is forced to have babies, they don't have, who wins? Because somebody wins and somebody loses. So in almost every situation, it's always going to be, is it really all about protecting the baby or does it help society? Is society better off? Is the country better off? Is the world better off? Are there policies in place to support all these babies and these mothers so they don't go into abused homes and become high percentage of criminals and in the reform system and in the penitentiary? These are good questions to have. How do we set up a world where that would work? And why hasn't it been set up before? These are good questions to ask and to understand. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay. Thanks for, oh, by the way, please to continue this discussion and to get more people involved and having these discussions. I completely want people to be open and honest about where you are in your journey with this, with your critical thinking and where you want to go, questions or comments you might have. As long as we're respectful to each other, welcomed and encouraged. And please subscribe. Thanks. Bye.